Hi, it's Joy with Obsidian Wisdom. Today we answer the question, why don't more people save for retirement? So there are a variety of reasons that people don't save for retirement, and I'm going to go over 10 of the most common today. So you may feel that one of these speaks a little bit more to you, and another one you're going to be like, why would that ever work? One of the things I tell people is we all have different temptations, and that's a very fancy way of saying there are things that entice each of us. So, for example, I have a huge sweet tooth, and so I'll eat a lot of sugar. And if I get started, I just keep going. My wife, on the other hand, she doesn't have that big of a sweet tooth. So she may eat a slice of cake and then she would be done because she didn't want it in the first place. In fact, half the time she either wouldn't get it at all, or if she did, she would just take a couple pieces so she knew what it tasted like, and then she'd give the rest to me. But as someone who doesn't spend a lot of money, things like gambling have generally been something that I haven't been interested in. It's very hard for me to spend money on something that has a low probability of success. And while that is something that a lot of people can appreciate in their financial planner, I have found that in my regular day to day with friends or family, it's not always appreciated that I'm always talking about the value of something. So, with that said, let's go through the list with an open mind, understanding that some of these temptations will speak to us and others of them won't. But that's okay because we're all trying to get to the same place, which is a wealthy retirement where we're no longer in the rat race of trading our time for money, but we have now entered into a new phase of our life where we're able to trade our money for more time. So, number one on the list is the lack of financial literacy. And I found that it's not as much that people have no understanding about finances as much as they have a misunderstanding about finances. Now, some of this I would say is intentional. It's from the society because it's trying to create lifelong employees. And if we have a certain amount of information, then we can make better decisions. That's part of the reason that I believe most people aren't prepared for retirement. Because if you had to list off the things that you were told right out the gate, most of us have been conditioned to purchase symbols of wealth more than we have been taught and encouraged to build wealth. And what I mean is, most of the time we get out of college, we're told, hey, show that you're successful. Okay, well, that may be purchasing a car, that may be purchasing a house. We're told that we've sacrificed so much to get to this point that we should enjoy ourselves. So that may mean taking trips with friends and family. And so we've been told and taught that this is what you should do. This is what successful people do. So we want to feel and become successful. So we do those things too. And somewhere along the way, while we appreciate all of the amazing things that we've had, we realize there's something still missing. There's this little gap. And I know that I felt that myself. Someone who went to college, who was working in a Fortune 100 company, managing a $2 billion pricing department, making the money that I thought I wanted. I had a new house that was built and all this other stuff, but there was something that was still missing. And for most of us, we realize that we are trading a significant amount of our time for the money that we're getting in return. And at some point, we feel like this is just not the way things should be. And what happens is we start going online, we start reading information, and then we start saying, okay, this is what people are doing to get wealthy. But the truth is, that's what poor people are doing to stay poor. And that's why in many situations we're being scammed because we don't understand the probability of something being successful. And you guys hear me, I talk about probability and ratios and putting yourself in a position where it's highly probable that you'll be successful. So for example, I've told you, hey, 65% of self-made millionaires have at least three streams of income. That would lead me to believe that I probably should have three streams of income. And then when you start looking into ways to generate an income outside of your earned income, I've told you guys, hey, there's going to be normally three ways to be able to do this. You're either going to have a business that pays you some profits, you're either going to have real estate that pays your rental income, or you're going to be invested in the stock market, which is going to pay you an investment income, which is a dividend, or maybe it pays you interest income if you're invested in bonds. But you need to invest in one of those three things to be able to generate an income for the rest of your life so that you no longer have to work. And that leads you into number two, which is your immediate financial pressures. Because we have built a certain lifestyle that requires a certain amount of income, we feel the pressure to hit a home run, to find something that is going to generate so much money that we never have to worry about it ever again. Because we feel so much pressure and anxiety and discomfort that we really want to fix the situation as quickly as possible. And because you're looking for a quick fix that requires just a little bit of money, but is going to maximize and get you this huge return, which is obviously what we all want. Because I will tell you that, do they exist? Of course they do. But in the timeline of someone who's like, I want to be able to do this quickly in the next month, in the next 6 months, in the next year, I would say, is it possible? Of course it's possible. It's just not as likely. These opportunities don't just show up every single day. There are certain events that are going on. And when you look at different government regulations and economic situations, we find very quickly when that opportunity arises, and then we have the cash available to invest in that opportunity. So for example, I remember maybe 10 years ago, there were these opportunity zones, which is a very fancy way of saying The government wanted you to buy real estate in a certain area. And if you did, they gave you very nice tax incentives. If you had that money sitting, then you were able to take advantage of that opportunity. It's not that those opportunities are available every year right on the time that we need it. It's that we have the money ready and we wait for these opportunities. When you read about the investments of Warren Buffett or Bill Ackman and different successful investors over time, you'll find that they wait for the opportunities and then they have the ability to recognize the opportunity to then take advantage of it. For someone who's being pressured by financial constraints, was looking for an opportunity that is always available, that always gives you a high return with a little bit of money needed, that's probably going to be a scam. And when you get scammed, it then has people feeling, which leads into our next one, they feel that all investments are scams, that everyone is lying to them, and that there's never been an opportunity to make money in the stock market. And because of that, they end up putting most of their money in accounts that don't even keep up with inflation, which is going to make it really hard for people to save enough money for retirement. You can see how as we make certain decisions, they lead into the next one, which is always what I tell people. It's not that we made one particular bad situation today or we made one yesterday. It's that the decisions that we've made over the past 5 years have created the lifestyle that we have today. And if we want to change that, then we need to make different decisions over the next 5 years so that we can be able to create a different lifestyle. If you're looking for the ability to change 5 years of different decisions in 5 months with your new decisions, that is going to open you up to being taken advantage of in certain financial situations. Next on our list is we have healthcare costs, where you may hear me say, hey, look, 70% of people who are 65 and older have at least one long-term care episode. As a result, there are people who will say, okay, I will invest a lot of money today in my overall health. And I'm going to focus on the health aspect more than the income aspect of my retirement. And I can appreciate that balance because each of us is going to be tempted by a different thing. If you live in a family where there's certain health issues that you see, it's now on top of mind. I have clients who are like, hey, I believe in long term care because I had to take care of my parents and I don't want to do that to my kids, right? I'll have people who would say, hey, I had a friend who invested in Amazon and they made millions of dollars and they're done. Can you tell me who the next Amazon is? You and I know that if we see certain things that they become our beliefs and then it creates the outlook that we have and the actions that we take based on the beliefs we have in the world. If you grew up in Beverly Hills, you have different beliefs than someone who grew up on a farm. And whether the beliefs are good or bad is not really the question. It's just, hey, we have different beliefs. What can we do with these beliefs to live the best life possible? There are some beliefs that are pretty positive and they will give us a great life. There are some beliefs that are hindering and self-sabotaging, and we got to get rid of those beliefs. If you're someone who has lived through certain things where you had a family member who maybe died of a heart attack, or you had someone who had cancer where you say, look, I don't want that for me. I want to make different decisions. I would say, of course, we all do. That's what wisdom is. We have certain insights through our experiences or the experiences of others, and then we alter the course accordingly. What I am saying is we don't want to be too focused on one thing. Your retirement is a lot of spinning plates. There's a lot of pieces that go into a successful, wealthy retirement. You don't want to just be focused on any one thing. You want to have all of the plates spinning. So being healthier, taking walks and investing in your body is a great thing. It works well for LeBron James. He's breaking all sorts of records playing at a high level in his 40s. You found the same thing with Tom Brady. He invested in his health and his well-being, and he was able to play football at a high level into his 40s. So it's not that it can't work. It's just how does it all work together? Now, for others, that wasn't their particular situation. They weren't pressured. They enjoy their life. They enjoy their job. They have a good amount of money and they believe they're always going to make more money. And because they're always going to make more money, they have this feeling like, I'm going to be able to make this up later. I can invest twice as much, 5 times as much, 10 times as much. I don't feel any pressure to start investing in my retirement today. I'm just going to enjoy the life that I have now. And because you have this belief that your future earnings are going to be so much that you're always going to be able to catch up, it's sort of like the tortoise and the hare, where the hare was just so confident that there was no chance that that turtle was going to beat him. So I'm not going to worry about investing a little bit of money here and there over a long period of time. I'm going to invest a bunch of money and then I'm going to be able to run as fast as I can and retire when I'm ready. And while that can't be true, you and I know that in the story of the tortoise and the hare, we know exactly how that ends. The turtle, the one who has a consistent, disciplined process, beats the hare, who has a sporadic and disconnected process. And what we call that is short-term thinking. So there could be the positive aspect of it, which would be, I want to enjoy today so much that I'm not as worried about over the long term. Like, why would I sacrifice my present for the long term? On the other end, we have what's called present bias, which is a very fancy way of saying that our present concerns outweigh our future benefit. That sure, it does make sense to put money away for retirement. Yes, it does make sense to say that I won't be able to work forever. It does make sense to say I might want to be able to travel and do these things with my time. But right now, the pressure of paying my bills, keeping my lights on, putting food on the table for my family, it is so much for me that I'll figure out tomorrow, because I got to figure out today right now. And some will even say, I still need to figure out yesterday, that I'm still trying to catch up to yesterday. And because I'm trying to catch up to yesterday, I don't even know what I'm going to do today. So don't even think about talking to me about tomorrow. And I can understand that because there's numbers out there that say our credit card debt is over $1 trillion, that it's significantly increased as inflation increased. And people have decided they're going to maintain their exact same lifestyle. As a result, they ended up taking out debt every single month to maintain that lifestyle. We've all been there where it's really hard to say, well, I'm going to sell this car, or I'm going to take a bus, or I'm going to make these different decisions on the type of food I'm going to get. And because we have certain habits and certain patterns, we just say, okay, well, I'm just going to use my credit card because then I can figure it out. I can make a payment where instead of it being $100 today, I can pay 50 now and then 50 later. It'll be gone in a couple months. But we know that that is very hard, that if we end up spending money every single month, you guys know there's only three relationships that you can have with money. You rather spend less than what you have, all that you have, or more than what you have. And if you spend more than what you have, we end up getting in this different mindset to where we don't have the same filters that tell us, hey, we need to make different decisions. And once we get in the habit of spending more, it doesn't matter if inflation goes back down, we now have a habit of spending more. It doesn't matter if we get raises, we have a habit of spending more. It doesn't matter if we get an inheritance. It doesn't matter if we win the lottery. You have a habit of spending more. A lot of people believe that what they'll do is they're going to spend more now and they're just going to turn it off on their own. But without having that set in your plan where you say, look, this is how long I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to stop it at this particular point, I find that we end up creating a new habit with a new problem to where we don't have the money to allocate towards our future retirement. And we no longer have the ability to invest in these additional streams of income because we're spending more than what we make. And then as a result, now our money is being allocated towards the debt. There. Now, for some of you, this could be because you have an irregular income. And sometimes we aren't able to save enough for retirement because we don't have a consistent income. And that's just called income instability. Maybe you have a seasonal job. Maybe you have something where you get paid by the projects. Often people who are in sales, or maybe someone who's a project manager where you have to build a certain number of houses, where there's some sort of a seasonality in your income. And because there's a seasonality, you don't feel comfortable investing your money for your future retirement. You're worried about the season when your money is not coming in. We almost get in this hoarder mindset where we're just not comfortable letting go of things. And so we don't want to let go of our money because we know that there's going to be a few months that we don't have enough. But in those situations, it's very beneficial to be able to put a plan together. Now, you and I may make a different plan, but it's good to be able to sit back and say, I'm not going to be able to do this forever. So if you're in sales, you may be like, I'm definitely going to be able to do this forever. But again, you guys know, and I've told you, 70% of people who are 65 and older have at least one long-term care episode. And on average, they last about 3 years. And the average amount that people spend per year is somewhere around like $35,000. Now, for you and I, maybe that's going to happen, or maybe that's not going to happen. But it is something that we want to at least think about and consider in our retirement plan. What if I'm not able to work until I die? And then I do have to have some money that is able to work for me, even when I'm not able to work. What if the company I'm at lets go of me because I make too much and they just want to hire a young person that they could pay half of what they paid me? Right? That's a real thing. What if the owner of the company I'm at sells it because they want to retire? And then the culture completely changes because it was sold to maybe some private equity fund and they want to be able to get their investment back. Well, that may have you wishing that you have the ability to leave that company. It's always good to have flexibility of our time. And the only way to get flexibility of our time is by having flexibility of our income sources. If our income only comes from one source, we don't have a lot of flexibility. We got to ride that out. Now, we may say, well, I'm going to just find another job at another company. And that can happen. But I find it's better to have the control of your life, that I would rather be able to make that decision for myself. Let me make the hard decision. Because when someone else gets to make the decision, they're naturally going to make the best decision for them. And if our goals aren't aligned, then that may mean that the best decision for them isn't the best decision for me. And that's why I have a fee only practice, because I want our goals to be aligned. I want us both to be able to make money together. To me, that just makes the most sense, just from a practicality standpoint. If I paid someone who made money when I lost money, for me, I would say, well, okay, what's the incentive in them helping me make money? They make money either way. we're not aligned with each other. Next on our list is just a lack of employer-sponsored retirement plans. Maybe you work somewhere where they don't offer you a 401k, 403b, or pension of any kind, and you're just not sure what to do with your money. Most of the information that we're told is you invest in your 401k, invest in the company, you get the match, and then you retire when you're 65. If you don't have access to those, a lot of people aren't sure what to do with their money. They don't know where to invest it, and they may have one of the other fears where they don't want to lose the money, which I find oftentimes is what a lot of us struggle with is deep down, we're okay with losing 1%, 2% of our money. But when I'm telling you, you need to invest 20% of your money, a lot of people, that fear of losing 20% of your money is big. We're like, oh, whoa. Like, I'm okay putting 1 or 5% away, and I don't know what's going to happen, but at least I still have 95% of my money. But if you want 20% of my money and it doesn't work, well, now I'm out 20% of my income. And so for many of us, we feel a certain amount of comfort investing in our 401ks because we're at the company and everybody else does it and it just feels good. And it's money that goes out before we even see it in our check. So we don't even really think about it, which is another good feeling. Because that is the main way we're taught to generate a retirement income. If we don't have access to these plans through our employer, for a lot of people, they don't invest anything in their retirement. And the very last reason that I find people don't save enough for retirement is they have an over-reliance on Social Security. Social Security is a great thing. You invested in it and then they pay you back a portion of what you invested in it. Social Security is owed to you and you've earned it. Point blank, period. But with that said, the people that we have watching the Social Security funds aren't always the most competent and trustworthy people. And as a result, the current design of Social Security is going to go away. I think it was like 2032 or 2037, somewhere around there, where there's not a lot of time left on the current Social Security structure. Now, because politicians who get elected, their number one goal is to get reelected, they often make decisions that get them reelected. And the truth is, making significant changes to Social Security will most likely keep you from getting elected again. That there's going to be crazy commercials about you taking money from the elderly and ruining the future and things like that. So because there's no incentive for our current politicians, and we talked about that, where our goals need to be aligned and we could do a better job as citizens doing that with our politicians. But because right now our goals aren't aligned, maybe because we have misinformation, maybe because we have a misunderstanding, but for whatever reason, our goals aren't aligned. And so as a result, most politicians are not going to try to fix Social Security. Most of the time they put a stopgap measure in place, which is a very fancy way of saying they put a Band-Aid over it and then it'll be a problem for someone in 5 years, maybe a problem for someone in 10 years at best, but it's definitely a problem. They haven't fixed it. Now, whether they ultimately decide they're going to raise the age of Social Security, they're going to decrease the benefits of Social Security, or they're going to create some sort of a limit where if you make over a certain amount, you're no longer able to access Social Security, I don't know. But what I do know is that the average Social Security check is about $1,700 a month. And I do know that your Social Security is taxed and is not a very high amount for it to be taxed. And because of those two factors, I know that Social Security is unlikely to be the amount of income someone needs for their dream retirement. And so we don't want to be over reliant on Social Security. We do want to consider it in our plan. And we do talk about it. And I'm actually putting together a video series talking about Social Security because it is very complicated for no reason. And we want to make sure that we do take advantage of it while it's there. Again, it is money that you invested in it. And as a result, you have earned more than what they give you back. And so I do believe that it makes sense for you to get your return back. But at the same time, I acknowledge that a lot of the times we would consider that icing on the cake. Where Social Security is here and we get that back, that's fantastic. We earned it, that's a good thing. But if Social Security is not here, we equally understand that's a high probability, at least it won't be here in the current iteration of it. And if that's true, our plan should be focused on things that we can control, and that's something that we can't control. First of all, I appreciate you spending time with me watching the video. If you could and found value in it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe so you can continue receiving valuable insights on how to create a wealthy retirement system so you can worry less and live more. Until next time, stay safe and enjoy life.